You know, sometimes when you have 5 guys in the lightning round, I could imagine that if I gave you their bios and their intros, we'd already be eating the first course of lunch by the time I finished. So I'm going to keep the intros very, very short. We're going to give snappy questions. We will expect snappy answers. We're quite happy to have people interact with each other. Trends. This is where we get to the trends. So let's see if I can get them all in order. Zishan Haider. He's the Chief Operating Officer of the Jamal Jaroudi Group, a leading systems integrator here in Saudi Arabia. He actually told me it was like 29 years. He was very exact. It wasn't I've had 30 years. He didn't round up. Shows how exact he is as an integrator, of experience in the industry here. Mohamed Lothi, who I am meeting here for the first time on this panel. Welcome. He is the project manager at the Middle East Task Company Limited. He's also had 2 decades of experience in security. He's an expert in airports, and I know also in access and access control. So welcome on. Sabry, Eissa, welcome. Managing Director of IBTech, another 25 years of experience. I think we're going to have like almost 2 centuries by the time we add it up. He's a designer and implementer of smart solutions, and particularly around safe city projects. We have Aluisio Figeuiredo, a man well known to me, the Chief Executive of ISS. He's a Brazilian by birth, an American by adoption, and one of the most thoughtful people I've come across in the world of video analytics, integrations, AI, and leads a very fast-growing company. And last but very not least is Jeff Burgess, again a 20-year-old veteran selling IT server solutions before he started his own company and sought his own freedom, forming BCD, a remarkably Chicago-based but remarkably fast-growing global company which specializes in providing the infrastructure for video surveillance across the board. And you know something? Let's start where we ended just now. Jeff. We just heard about smart cities from Mohammed. There are more and more, and smart cities, by the way, you can even define it for me, because the blanket is covering a lot of innovation around general conurbations and building. Has that shift changed anything in the equipment needs and the infrastructure needs to support it?
For us, probably not, but certainly I think it's making better awareness in the market of having a stable, safe solution to build from. Certainly it's about, I keep hearing about standards and stuff. We're part of the ISO 2243 Open Trusted Technology Partner standards with people like Dell, Intel, Seagate Technologies are involved in that. Oh, okay, I'll use the mic, I guess, sorry. And it's about a secure supply chain, which starts with secure technology and then secure engineering, and then that whole like supply chain about keeping the infrastructure safe. I made a couple of notes from some earlier speakers, I'm sorry, because I learned a lot today. For the culture and the technology out here. But very quickly, video surveillance used to not be on the network. It was inside the building, not tied to the IT network, because you would never want to put the video on the IT network, or you'd probably have 50 to 500 very unhappy IT users, because video tends to hog the bandwidth and throughput. As you go smart cities, everything is not only going external, but it's critical infrastructure is being targeted. Everything from wastewater management facilities to police, schools. It's a prime target. So certainly positively, the time is certainly now to look at the standards that are inside the systems that are protecting the ecosystem here.
This is the lightning round, so I'm going to return to you on one of
Well,
the
that
issues
wasn't
you
very
raised
lightning.
later.
Okay, that was more thunder. Thank you.
Thank you. Rolling thunder. Sabry, business intelligence, help me. Help me define that and what I should be looking for when that term is used, because it's thrown around like confetti nowadays.
Yeah, and the way that the industry is moving actually from the classical, I would say, video analytics arena to what they call it business intelligence / computer vision are transforming the entire ecosystem of video industry, I would say. We used to see few tens or hundreds of companies are specialized in video analytics algorithms across the past, let's say, 10, 15 years. Now we're seeing open platforms powered by well-standard AI engines like Google, Facebook, and so on, to empower the new era of what they call it computer vision. So every minute you could see a new algorithm doing special purpose behavior analytics, or what they call it, in order to feed the businesses, enterprises, and so on. So the trend happening now, rather we say a face recognition, no, we say a happiness index. And I think it's pretty much tied up with the tourism industry. Rather we say a mask wearing detection, we say a COVID process compliance, right? Okay. So it's evolving from an individual use cases and behavior to what they call it business process optimization. And interestingly enough, this business process can invoke tens of algorithms. So the innovation happening in this is phenomenal.
Thank you. Zishan, the Saudi Arabia, the systems integration business is not really for violets. It's competitive, you've got to stay ahead. How do you keep ahead in the systems integration business in Saudi? What are the things that you need to be doing to satisfy clients and to perform better? And I'll ask the same question as well, Mr. Lotfi, to you afterwards.
The system integrator should not move boxes. They should be designing a solution based on the client's exact requirement. So tailoring the solution to the requirement of the client. I mean, Saudi Arabia has been, a very tech-savvy country, but now, high usage of internet, a lot of connectivity and all. But the people now who are in the right position, they are very much techno-savvy. They love innovation. But it's a job of the system integrator to choose the right technology which suits them and which has also performed in the past. Like Dr. Adala gave an example of the LPR system. So the technology which the system integrator should propose should have been tested technology. This is the job. Then only you can develop the trust of the customer. We have customers, which are 20, 25 years old, where the system installed then is still working because we used, future-proof technologies. Future-proof. Yes. So that the investment of the client is not, wasted after 3 or 4 years. So that is the key, in surviving in this competitive market.
Ooh, I have a lot of thoughts from that. But Mohammed, do you want to give us your own view? Speak up, though.
Yeah, system integration or system integrator in Saudi Arabia is very challenging because rather than the mature customers, okay, you meet a lot of customers here. They don't know exactly what they need from the system. Okay, so to be a leader here, you must be advisor. You must be advise your customer what exactly he need to install to get his security purpose or operation purpose. This is the most important thing in the system integrator here, to be a leader. The other thing I think it will be important for the customer, which I can claim that it's a lake here in Saudi Arabia, the after-sale service. After-sale service is very important, okay? And in the security industry here, we face a problem, or the customer faces some problems, okay, in the customer after-sale service, rather than the IT services, like if you work with the IT solution, enterprise solution, like famous vendors, they have ticketing system, they have global calling ticketing system like this. We don't have like this in this industry, okay? We depend on the individual approach from each company to provide their after-sale services. This is very important. That's it.
By the way, just as a quick follow-up for you, and that's an interesting point, by the way, but the airport sector is one where you have some deep experience, correct? You've worked in airports. Just share here, because it's kind of a best practices, you know, in sharing experience. What were the biggest issues for you in those airports here in Saudi? Just, we understand, and how did you, and in short, I mean, just a short kind of summary, and how did you solve those issues? What were the solutions?
Yeah, the operation of the airport, it's a little bit...
I'm sure that's a seminar in and of itself, but you have 30 seconds starting now.
It's a little bit complicated, because so many stakeholders, okay? You can see them, and some stakeholders, hidden stakeholders, okay? And the most important, safety and throughput, okay? Safety of the and user experience. This is the new terminology coming in the airports now because of tourism. So user experience and the safety of these users and the custom, and the throughput, highly throughput flow of the passengers in the safety way and controllable. A lot of stakeholders, their custom, GID, RCF, the airport operation, those stakeholders must be satisfied, and each one must have his own KPI to fulfill. You have to fulfill with them. This is in brief, okay? It's very complicated you know, this is stakeholders, they have their own requirement for the network, for infrastructure, for surveillance, for access control, for the, and on the other side, the operation, okay? They have their check-in counters and the X-ray and the sterilized area and like this. So you have to fulfill all of this requirement, even it's not written in the RFP, even if it's not required clearly in the paper, RFP or the tender or the requirement, but when you are on the ground, you will face all this requirement and you have to fulfill this.
That's a good lesson, and it actually mirrors what other speakers have been saying earlier today. Aluisio, your firm really is expert in very advanced, sophisticated software. How are you best deploying advanced AI solutions into your projects? And are there any particular challenges or advantages you want to highlight here?
Richard, what we see around the globe is some to what some of our fellow panelists said. First, understand the problem. We have tools on our toolbox, and we need to see which ones we're going to use based upon certain problems we have to solve. Facial, license plate, behavior recognition, those are tools in the toolbox. What's the end game? How can we translate that to a best user experience? Like engineer Abdullah mentioned on the customs. How we can translate those algorithms into meaningful data so the systems can take the right decision. Also, what we see that Sabry just said, there is a variety of algorithms and companies showing up every day. In this market that we are, experience matters. You're introducing this panelist. I think we have 200 years of experience sitting over here, and it's not small. We've seen in trade shows and conferences around the globe, companies that were created a year, 2 years ago, has no experience. We like to say they have no scars in their body. It's innovation, and we have to keep innovating. But understanding and listening to your customers, I think that's a key point. What I learned throughout my career, we need to be where our customers are. And that's why we're here. That's why we were in other cities this year. Even during COVID, online, we need to learn. The issues we face in Saudi Arabia on airports might not be the same that we face in Mexico or in the US or in Russia. We need to understand what's the end game and how to apply those algorithms to solve those particular problems. I think that's the takeaway I would leave here for this particular question.
So never hire a consultant or a company promising video analytics without having them lift their shirt and show their scars.
I would say that you should see how many scars they have in their bodies before
The more scars, it's like rings in a tree.
The more scars, the more experience, it's going to translate to less problems in the future. That's what I've seen.
And that's probably a direct correlation. We're going to come back to the other end in a second. Jeff, you started talking about something which is actually it's not a trend, I hope, but it's a short-term issue that you have a very good view of. Shortages, world supply problems.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know in this room if people have been bitten by this, but around the world we have. There are projects which are harder to fulfill because chips aren't getting out of China to ports in South Africa or whatever the chain is. What's going on, and when are we going to get kind of back to some looseness?
It's going to be ongoing through at least, I'd say, second quarter 2022 for the world. We've been very fortunate on the front end of it. We haven't had to deal with it. Part of it is our philosophy and how we build our products. We don't order upon order from a customer. We have our certified core chassis that we build from. They're all been tested, certified with all of our key partners. We know they work. We can guarantee these solutions to our customers. And because of that, back in January of last year, our VP of Supply Chain Operations, frankly, used to work at an industrial distributor buying from China. So he had familiarity with China, and when he heard that the World Health Organization was nosing about Wuhan, China, he knew what was going to happen next. So the next day, he ordered 4 months worth of our core chassis supply from our key partners and the other parts to get in place. And sure enough, 2 days later, China shut down the whole state. So all our stuff, nothing comes from China anyways, but a lot of the key components do. So we got in front of this thing from day one. I mean, we're one of the lucky ones. You know, we're either good or we're lucky. And I always say, if you're good, you get luck. So it's probably some combination. But we got in front of this whole supply chain from day one, and believe it or not, our average days to ship an order went from 4.77 days in 2019 before the pandemic, dropped to 4.65 days during the pandemic. I mean, which is just unreal. We work hard at it, and it's an ongoing thing, and it's getting tougher and tougher. Something keeps changing. If it's not GPU cards because of the crypto stuff, and now they found they can use hard drives for the same performance they were getting out of GPUs. So hard drives became a shortage, and so far, everything willing, we've been very fortunate so far. But we do not think it's going to get any better. You have all these ships outside of the California ports that can't get parking spots. They're looking for 80,000 truck drivers. Those big cargo containers have to then either go on a rail car or a truck across the country. And I don't know if you heard recently, it's like an Armageddon, okay? All these plagues are coming. Outside of Canada, in their port issue, choppy waters forced 17 cargo containers fell off of a boat and down to the bottom of the ocean. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. How's that for a lightning round?
Yeah, it's kind of bonkers. You should send all those truck drivers to England so they can get gasoline. You want to comment on that, Aluisio?
Yes, and Richard, due to this shortage, we work very closely with PCD on that, but sometimes there is no solution, and we need to overcome that by software. So we work with firms like Intel, to basically, in the case of the GPUs, due to the gaming, cryptocurrency and all that, we have to add those primitives into the processor to avoid, in some of the cases, the use of these components that are in short today. So it's a collaboration between us as software companies with hardware companies to overcome the challenges. It's got to work like a Swiss clock. We have to work in tandem to service our customers in a more sophisticated way.
Next is I'm going to start a round which you can all talk to. I'm going to go to Zishan to start it. And it's been alluded to a lot. A lot of people here will relate to this. The promise is so great that you can spot a left-handed Chinese guy wearing a red hat in a crowd over a year and pick him up. And the video analytics can do so many things, which we know it can't. How do you work with and manage the expectation of clients? And I'm going to work back this way on that one.
I mean, the main thing is never oversell. Never promise something which you cannot deliver. And don't push something which the client doesn't need. So choose the technology or the things which are required by the client and try to be realistic. There are a lot of good softwares, good systems, which are doing a lot of, deep learning and, big data analysis and doing a lot of things, and they can achieve a lot of things. But there are certain, the technology is improving day by day in this sector.
It is. Any useful litmus tests when the Chinese come in telling you they can do everything for you?
No, I mean, see, we never, we hear them,
Yeah.
but we never push that to the client unless until we test ourselves. I mean, and that is very mandatory. And that's the reason why we have been keeping clients for 25, 30 years. That's the main thing.
Mohammed, what's the special sauce to sift the wheat from the chaff and help the client?
Actually, in the terms of video analytics, we must be so careful. We must be so careful when we're selling video analytics because it's tricky. The expectation is very high from the customer. This is the magic. He can do everything, and this is not real. We have to consider, let me speak from the perspective of the contractor or system integrator or even customer. This is will lead to the huge backend. Okay, we'll use high computing with GPU, which is lead to the higher HVAC and electricity. Sometimes, or most of the time, we don't need all this algorithm, all these use cases. Okay, if you look to the whole picture, okay, you have to be very careful which algorithm you will put in which camera. Okay, from my experience in any critical infrastructure, not more than 10 to 15% of the cameras must have video analytic. Okay, but some customers need to put on the all cameras, and they don't look to the back end cost from the data center, electricity, HVAC, everything, footprint. One of the use cases I would like to share with you here from the video analytic, okay, between the security video analytic and the operation. In the airport, we are using this use case, the queue management. Okay, the queue management and the crowd management, it can use it as a security purpose and the operation purpose. When the queue management is, or the queue it's increased on the certain limit, okay, they will, this is the AI, this is some kind of artificial intelligence. They will send to the operation or the airlines offices to open another check-in counter, okay? So this is optimize the benefits of the video analytic, not only for the security purpose, but also for the operation purpose to make the life easy for the passenger. That's my
Good example. Sabry.
Yeah, the observation I'm seeing that the clients are becoming more and more smart in procurement decisions. And my recommendation that the engagement with the clients and customers should be outcome-based rather than fancy features and so on. And Brother Ahmed was saying about the cost-benefit analysis that needs to be done on a holistic level. You might see a very fancy software, but it needs to run with dozens of racks underneath. So the overall business case have a say on this. The clients are becoming more and more smarter and focusing on what they are looking for. So it's not any more valid, I could say.
I'm going to go to Jeff before I go to Aluisio.
Well, that's a great point. We're seeing it back in the States anyways for a lot of the companies and organizations using security. This is probably their third or fourth legacy system. They started, no doubt, with CCTV, the old grainy convenience store kind of special. Maybe in 2011 they migrated to IP, got some type of white box that did fine, some no brand. Worked fine for what they wanted to do, but God forbid if they wanted to add a camera or something, or do anything above what it was tasked to do from the get-go, it wouldn't work. Now they're almost expecting the same sophistication and branding, if you will, of what's in their data center to be in their video recording appliance. In a lot of cases, we're seeing the video recording appliance is almost more important than the IT servers in that data center. And I'm an ex-IT guy, so I'm not dissing IT here, but it just seems they're using it more as a business engine. I spoke earlier with someone about how they're using it to look at customer behavior and all that. So definitely positively, I think customers are expecting a better solution. As for the Chinese in America, they've been banned at all the federal government, all the Chinese cameras, all the Chinese anything, because of the spyware fears. Our argument to businesses who still use it is, if it's not good enough for the federal government, why would you use it? What do you think? They've shut off the spyware for like commercials only on government? And the last thing that we always tell our salespeople is to set customer expectation. If you set customer expectation, you're most likely not going to fail him. Things happen. Yes, we've got a great supply chain. We don't guarantee that you'll get something landed to you anywhere in the world in 10 days. We regularly do, but there's always that one-off. So if you set the customer expectation up front based upon what he's trying to achieve, you're less likely to disappoint him no matter what happens.
It looks like, Aluisio, you will have now the last word, so you better be very profound.
Listening to the panelists, Richard, for me, it's everything is summarized into education. Whether it's customers' expectations, what AI can do, how much hardware is gonna, the cost benefit, hardware versus functionality. I think that we need more events like this. I think that's the beginning. Educating customers to avoid things like over-promising and under-delivering. We hear this all the time. Ownership, what I see in the market, we have these companies that promise the word, sell, and disappear, like a ninja on a cloud of smoke. We're never going to hear from them anymore. They just disappear. Ownership, what I see around the globe, one company sells the queue management, the other one sells the license plate recognition, the other one sells the faces, but nobody owns the end result. This is one of the biggest problems. And over-promising. We see companies from certain countries that Jeff mentioned, rightfully, that their software does wonders. It learns by itself. You don't need to teach, it just learns. I don't know how. When you put it on the real environment, it doesn't. And the failing starts to happen. So education, best practices, and sharing our experiences like we're doing today to avoid those pitfalls in the future. And that's how I would summarize that.
Honestly, that's a great way of kind of circling where we started from. I'll say now, we're going to wind down a little bit. I always think this is the bit where we give the thank yous, which are well deserved. Sandy Eissa, for some reason, is leaving the room. That lady at the back will be going from here to a mental health farm to rest after putting this together because she's done it great. Give her a round of applause. You see that camera? Mike Dingle and Ryan Bickerton in England at Security Middle East magazine. Thank you guys, you did great, we love you. Clearly to all of our speakers, and stay around so we can get some presentations at the end. Our speakers have been fabulous, and you win a double award for staying all the way through, Dr. Mohammed, by the way. And to everybody who participated, you're slightly quiet. I know you're not quiet in real life. So come to lunch and let's be noisy and make conversation, enjoy each other's company and swap notes. Thank you.